guys, just in town for a couple days this week. Heading back out tomorrow with Chris Botti for a couple weeks. We're starting in Turkey, and then we're doing some dates around the U.S. So I figured we could actually get on Jaden Clark, one of our jazz gym trainers, for another video here. He's going to do a video called 3 Simple Tricks for Playing Better on Jazz Standards. And this one is going to be all about some really great, effective techniques that we've been using in the jazz gym for our jazz gym sessions. Remember that learning about these techniques and concepts is the first step. Understanding how to use these things can really help you in your playing. But beyond that, you've really got to spend your time on the instrument playing through these ideas. So for that, we found the jazz gym to be a really great way of getting a community together, having everybody practice together in real time. We've got 5 live sessions running throughout every day with a bunch of great trainers, including myself. And if you haven't already tried it, make sure to give it a try. You can actually book a 7-day free trial right now. Just make sure to do that soon, because we are actually going to close off access to this membership very soon. We want to keep the studio environment as intimate as possible, just so the trainers can always be working with everyone individually throughout each session, so it can be the most effective practice session for everyone who's involved. All right, so let's do it. Here's Jaden Clark. He's going to talk about a few great tricks that you can work on to play better on jazz standards.
Hey guys, today we're going to delve into the world of learning standards, and we're going to go over 3 different ways that we can approach and learn tunes more quickly and effectively. Learning standards is a huge part of our development as a jazz musician. Not only does it give us a larger repertoire to be able to play and perform with, but it also makes us better at improvising and soloing in general. That's because learning chord changes and learning how to outline harmony clearly is one of the most beneficial practices for improving your musicianship. But learning chord changes can be a struggle. No matter how advanced you are at playing your instrument, being able to play through chord changes well is one of the most challenging tasks, but it's also the most rewarding skill to develop. So if you work on a few simple tricks for playing standards, you're going to start memorizing chord changes faster, and it's important to know that with every standard you learn, you'll get a little bit faster at the process, so it becomes easier and easier the more you do it. There are 3 techniques we've been working on in the jazz gym to get better at playing standards, and we're going to go through each of them today. Remember, understanding these steps is a great start, but to fully reap the benefits of these techniques, we need to play through these concepts as much as possible on our instrument, so that's what we do in the jazz gym. Each jazz gym session is structured into 3 20-minute blocks. So this week, with each block, we're working on these 3 techniques, and we have a bunch of different workout options for every block, so you can pick an exercise that works best for your skill level from beginner to pro. So with all this in mind, the first trick for playing standards is to work on soloing with just the chord tones or the arpeggio notes of each chord. Now, arpeggio fluency can be achieved in a number of ways, but first and foremost, we need to make sure that we can play through a tune's arpeggios both ascending and descending. Ideally, by the time we have learned to play the tune arpeggios both ascending and descending, we already will have the chord changes significantly more internalized. Then to help you internalize the chords even more and help get you closer to memorization, what you want to do is change up the order of the arpeggio notes. So instead of playing 1, 3, 5, 7, you could play 1, 5, 3, 7 through the tune. Then we can take that pattern and start from the 3rd. Then we can combine different arpeggio patterns throughout the whole chorus, like so. Doing this by memory not only guarantees that we have the chord changes internalized, but it'll help us with our line construction. Limiting ourselves to only arpeggio notes means that we are sounding each chord ourselves. Now, at this point, you might feel like there's already a lot of information already. So remember, you want to structure your practice with focus goals for each day so you can make progress consistently. This is why in the jazz gym, we do 20-minute workout blocks with modest workout options that you can pick from so you can set a target that's challenging without being overwhelming. For instance, the Jazz Gym Green workout, which is a great workout for the fundamentals, we will just play through and try to memorize as much as we can with just the arpeggios ascending from the root. That would be with a suggested bass tempo of about 70 BPM. And we want to try and push this by about 10 BPM during that workout block. For the blue workout, we would pick a different arpeggio pattern, like 1, 5, 3, 7, and play through a chorus using that arpeggio pattern. And this would be with a suggested bass tempo of about 80 BPM. And then we want to try and push it by about 15 BPM throughout that workout block. And for the red workout, we would play a chorus combining different arpeggio shapes all the way through. This would be with a suggested bass tempo of about 90 BPM, and we want to try and push it about 20 BPM, if not as quickly as possible, throughout that workout block. Members will then pick a workout according to what they think they can achieve in that 20-minute block. Remember that focused, goal-oriented practice is the most effective way for measuring progress. Now, the next trick to playing standards is going to be improvising with only the notes of each chord's corresponding scale. Now, there's a myth that soloing with scales doesn't sound melodic, but in reality, if you do it right, it's actually the most melodic way to improvise. A scale matches with a chord because it's the most melodic way of embracing that chord's sound, and so when you use scales properly from chord to chord, they are by nature extremely melodic. After developing fluency with the tune's arpeggios, chord scale fluency can be thought of as simply connecting the dots. So if you've practiced the arpeggios thoroughly enough, you will find that you're just a couple of notes away from having the whole scale down. Now when doing this, like any new exercise, be sure to keep the tempo slow and our rhythms simple. It's one thing to be able to play the scale up and down and out of time, but the most important thing to playing melodic here is to play the harmonic rhythm properly, which just means playing the scale of each chord for the right amount of time, whether just 2 beats or 2 full measures. We should try our best to stick to just quarter notes and eighth notes when we're starting this exercise, making sure to only play the notes in the scale of each chord. You should definitely spend a lot of time just playing through chords with quarter notes and eighth notes, but once you get the hang of that, you can add some more rhythmic variation. It's important to note that making chord scale improvisation sound good has everything to do with how smooth we can make our voice leading. This means that we need to be leading into chord changes by half steps or whole steps, wherever we can, and ideally we want to aim for thirds and sevenths of each chord. The reason being is that these are considered essential tones in a chord, as the third determines whether the chord is major or minor, and the seventh determines whether the chord is major 7 or minor 7. The root and the fifth also sound great, but see if you can focus on the third and the seventh a bit more to start so you can really outline those essential tones. This brings us to the third tune learning exercise, and that is voice leading, and more specifically, applying chromaticism. The chromaticism that we'll be applying will be in the form of approach notes and enclosures, and this can be done using 2 or 3 notes. What we want to be thinking about with these is always approaching or wrapping a chord tone on downbeats, that is, beats 1 and 3. Here's an example using 2 approach notes. Then if you use 3 approach notes into beat 1 and 3, you'll end up with consistent eighth note lines which sound like this. Notice how we are still connecting the dots between chord tones here. So that's why our arpeggio practice is crucial for the chord scale technique and chromatic voice leading. All of this goes to say that if we're able to do this over a tune by memory, we can almost guarantee that the tune is internalized, and the more tunes we approach using these three techniques, the quicker the memorization process becomes. We may also find that the more confident that we become with each of these techniques individually, the more automatic working with each of them will become. For example, after a while, we may be able to jump straight into mixing up the arpeggio patterns and chord scale soloing without having to grind out each arpeggio off the page separately. Like with any form of practice, repetition is the key, and that's exactly what we're trying to emphasize in the Jazz Gym. There's a 7-day free trial running for the program right now, so if you want to give it a try, you can do that risk-free and see how these coaching sessions work for you. All skill levels and instrumentalists are welcome, so we hope to see you over there. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.